Yeah, my name is Robert Danis. A little history on our farm. We just turned 100 years in 2017. We got about 4,000 acres that we manage forest, wetlands, and farmland. We started cover cropping in 2012 at a small amount, and if people ask me how they should start, and I tell them how we started. We just started a small amount and work your way into it. We were up to about 21 different crops, so we were doing organic and non-GMO and hay and silage. We got back down to probably like 15 now. Our biggest challenge is getting in the ground. On our farm, when we've done silage, Ryelage or Triticale, we found that right after the chopper, we got to be chasing the chopper, or as the ground turns to concrete. Usually what happens is, like the stubble here, it actually is still alive and it's pumping the water out of the ground, and then all of a sudden about a day later, it turns to concrete. And then our backup plan is that 9RX with a Dagelman. We got to come through twice and work it, which is not an ideal. It's just an extra step that you got to do. So if you can just chase the chopper and get it in the ground. Other challenge we run into is planting too early and the ground's too wet, and then we don't get the furrow closure. So if you don't get the furrow closure and it gets dry like it did this year, you're gonna run into problems. So we waited, and was the right thing or wrong thing? We don't really know until the combine runs through. One other thing we found is we took the no-till coulters off our planter in the front because if it wasn't getting in the ground, we were running a little harder ground. That coulter in the front would actually push the whole roll unit up, and we'd find it was not getting in the ground. We got a 1790 with airbags on it. It works. We got to go a little slower. We got a 1720 with the hydraulic down pressure. That works excellent. That thing will automatically, as it's going through the field, adjust pressure as if the ground gets softer. It really does a nice job. Springs, if you got springs on your planter, will work. You just got to drive a little slower. Maybe if you got insecticide boxes, fill that up with gravel or something to get a little extra weight. But you also got to watch that your seed doesn't get too much sidewall compaction. One other thing we ran into this year is we've seen some of the seed that germinated and was starting to shoot, and then it died, and that's a problem with the rye. That was the first time this year we've seen that issue, and we kind of known that was a problem. What we did is we knew that was going to be an issue sometimes, so we went to a flex ear. So we made sure that on a seed varieties, all we had a flex ear. What that means is for somebody that don't know, is that the ear will flex as it doesn't feel pressure from other plants. So it'll put two cobs on, a cob will get bigger. Fixed ear, she's going to be that size. So if you ain't got the population there, and that's where she's going to be at. Soybeans, we upped their population to a little bit this year. I don't know if we did it right or wrong, but we were a little short on our population. But with being dry, I think we're all right. It looks like it's going to be a decent crop too. We got a trial with Triticale across the road. We did half the field in Triticale and half the field in rye. We noticed this year that when we did the burn down, the Triticale melted down faster. The corn looked a little bit better, but we didn't have the weed suppression like we have with the rye. So this year we're going to run out. This year what we're going to do is we're going to run with a mix of rye and Triticale, so we get a little more burnt, to melt down a little faster to get the crop growing a little better. Because once that crop, it takes a struggle, but once it gets going, it really just takes off. But that backfield was planted green. It was probably 10 days after planting, about waist high, when we sprayed it, and it looks really nice. We had a field last year that looked horrible across the road. Joe Schmidberg has the yield data, but it ended up being 240 bushel of the acre, like 243 dry in the bin. So it just proves that just because it looks like hell, it doesn't mean it's gonna not come around, because the rye and everything, once it releases, it really lets something go that that corn takes off. So that's what I got.
All right.